My new apartment came with a locked door. Last night, someone knocked from the inside. When I moved into my new apartment, I was thrilled. It was cheap, spacious, and close to my job. The building was old, sure, but I loved the character, wooden floors that creaked underfoot, high ceilings, and those antique fixtures that modern apartments lack. There was just one thing that unsettled me, the locked door in the hallway. The landlord had been vague about it when I asked. "That room stays locked. Just storage. Nothing to worry about." I didn't push it. After all, the rent was a steal, and I figured it wasn't my business what the landlord kept in there. The first few nights in the apartment were uneventful. I settled in quickly, arranging my furniture, stocking the fridge, and enjoying the solitude. But on the fourth night, something happened that shattered my peace. A knock. Not at my front door. At the locked door. I froze, my heart hammering in my chest. It was soft at first. 3 light raps, hesitant, like someone testing if they were being heard. I held my breath, waiting, hoping I had imagined it. Then it came again. Louder. I took a step closer, my fingers gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. My instinct screamed at me to run, to leave, to call someone. But I was rooted to the spot. "Hello?" I called out. Silence. I pressed my ear to the door, listening. At first, I heard nothing. But then, scratching. Light, insistent. Like nails dragging down the wood. My stomach twisted. I backed away, grabbed my keys, and left the apartment. I spent the night at a friend's place, refusing to explain why I had shown up unannounced with my backpack and a forced smile. The next morning, I returned, convinced I had imagined it. Stress, maybe. Moving was exhausting. But when I stepped into my apartment, the air felt different. Stale. Heavy. Like the weight of something unseen pressed down on me. And the door. There were scratches on it. Long, jagged gouges running down the wood. I ran my fingers over them. Fresh. My breath hitched. I needed to get out of there. I called my landlord. "There's something in that room," I said. "I heard knocking last night." Scratching. Silence. Then, in a tone too calm, he said, "I told you. It stays locked." I could hear something in his voice. A hint of something he wasn't saying. That was when I decided, I needed to see what was inside that room. I went to the hardware store, bought a crowbar, and that night, I pried open the door. It took effort. The door had been sealed for a long time. Dust puffed into the air as I finally wrenched it open, revealing darkness beyond. The room smelled of mold, decay, and something metallic. I fumbled for my phone's flashlight and stepped inside. The walls were covered in deep scratches. The floor had a thin layer of dust, except for a small, clear patch in the center, as if something had been sitting there. Waiting. Then, I saw them. Handprints. Dozens of them. Some smeared, some perfect. Small, childlike hands pressed into the walls, the ceiling. I turned, feeling suddenly suffocated, and that's when I noticed. There was no furniture. No storage. No boxes. Only a chair. And on that chair, a doll. It sat upright, its porcelain face cracked, its glass eyes staring straight ahead. A thick layer of dust coated its tiny dress. I reached out, fingers trembling, and touched its arm. The apartment door slammed shut behind me. The air went frigid. My breath came out in visible puffs. And then, I heard it. A giggle. High-pitched. Right beside my ear. I spun around, the flashlight flickering, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. The giggle grew louder, turning into full, shrieking laughter that echoed off the walls. The doll toppled over, rolling onto the floor, and as it did, the laughter cut off, replaced by a low, rasping whisper. "You shouldn't have opened the door." The flashlight flickered once more and went out completely. I ran. I don't remember how I got out, but I remember the way my skin felt ice cold, the way the darkness seemed to stretch toward me. I left everything behind, my furniture, my clothes, my laptop. I just ran. I never went back. I never even collected my deposit. I just wanted to forget. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear it. 3 soft knocks. And laughter. It echoed in my ears long after I had escaped that cursed apartment. I moved to a new city, changed my number, even deleted my social media in a desperate attempt to distance myself from whatever had been behind that door. But some things, I learned, don't just stay behind. The first time it followed me, I was in my new apartment, still unpacking, trying to convince myself that what had happened was just a trick of my imagination. Trauma, maybe. But then, one night, I heard it again. 3 knocks. Soft. Hesitant. Coming from my closet. I didn't open it. I didn't sleep either. I sat frozen in bed until the morning sun finally bled through my curtains. When I built up the courage to check, the closet was empty. But the door. It had scratches. I tried to rationalize it, but I knew better. Something had latched onto me that night. Something had followed me out of that room. Over the weeks, it got worse. Shadows flickered at the edge of my vision. My apartment would grow unnaturally cold. Lights flickered, bulbs shattered. And then, one night, as I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, the steam from my shower still thick in the air, I saw it. A message. Scrawled into the foggy surface of the mirror. Let me out. I ran. I packed whatever I could grab and checked into a motel on the other side of town. But the knocking followed. Always 3 soft knocks, sometimes on the walls, sometimes from the inside of the closet, sometimes from under my bed. My landlord called about my abandoned apartment. I let him keep everything. I wasn't going back. Desperation drove me to research. I scoured forums, read about hauntings, possessions, cursed objects. Nothing gave me an answer. Until I found an old newspaper article buried deep online. Tenant disappears in locked apartment room, no signs of forced entry. It was from 30 years ago. A man had gone missing inside that very same apartment. The police had found the room locked from the inside, completely empty except for a single wooden chair and the doll. I felt sick. The article mentioned something else. Before he vanished, the tenant had told neighbors he heard laughter at night. And that something was knocking, asking to be let out. I knew what I had to do. I had to end it. I went back. It took everything in me to step through the apartment door again. The landlord was nowhere in sight. I half wondered if he knew what he was renting out, if he had always known. The place was untouched since I'd fled. My old furniture sat gathering dust. But the air was heavy, suffocating, as if it had been waiting for me. I approached the locked door, the very one I had pried open that night. It was shut again, just as before. The scratches were still there, more of them now. Deeper. I raised my hand. Knock. 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 Silence. And then, something knocked back. A slow, deliberate, answering rhythm. A breath hitched in my throat as I turned the knob. The door creaked open, revealing darkness. The chair was still there. The doll sat upright once more, its cracked porcelain face staring straight ahead. The dust had settled around it, as if no one had ever disturbed this place. I stepped inside, my heart beat a drum in my ears. The air was ice cold, my breath visible. I reached for the doll, my fingers trembling. I had to destroy it. As soon as I touched it, the room erupted. The walls shuddered. The laughter returned, piercing, shrill, overlapping voices, filling the space with ear-splitting madness. The door slammed shut behind me. The temperature plummeted. Shadows flickered, darting along the walls. The handprints moved. Something unseen grabbed my wrist. Cold. Clawed. I screamed and yanked back, the doll slipping from my grip. It hit the floor with a hollow thud. The laughter turned into wails. You let me out. The whisper was right against my ear. My vision blurred. The darkness thickened, swirling, swallowing the room. Hands, too many hands, emerged from the walls, stretching, reaching, grasping. I stumbled back, kicking the doll. It rolled to a stop against the chair's leg. And then, silence. The hands retracted. The shadows dissolved. The air lightened. The doll lay still. I didn't question it. I bolted out of the room, out of the apartment, out of the building. I never looked back. The next morning, I went back one last time, with gasoline and matches. I doused that entire apartment. The walls, the floors, that cursed door. I lit the match. The flames roared to life, swallowing the past, burning away whatever had been trapped inside. As I stood across the street, watching the fire consume the building, I thought I heard it again. A laugh. Or maybe it was just the crackling of the flames. I'll never know. But I do know this. I never heard the knocking again.